listening to Season 5, Episode 10 of Vixen, a Black beauty and pop culture podcast. If you enjoy what you hear today, please leave a review anywhere you listen to podcasts. Today's episode is the second and final part of our Black Beauty Pageant series, focusing on Miss Black USA. Now, let's start the show. Hey y'all, welcome to a all new episode of Vixen. Today, as you can tell from the title, we're doing the second and the final part of the Black Beauty Pageant series. Today we're going to talk about Miss Black USA. Before we get started, I got a couple things to let you guys know. So regarding the finale episode, which will be next week, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram because we're going to do the poll for that episode and you'll know like what the theme of the episode is. This is the film review finale episode for those of you who are new here. But basically tomorrow I'm going to post the poll so you guys will know what the topic is and you'll also get to answer. So if you want to participate in the poll and possibly have your answers read aloud on the show, make sure you follow me on Instagram today so you can see the poll tomorrow. So that's pretty much that about the finale. I'm really excited about that episode. And for this episode, as you guys know, last week we talked about Miss Black America and just the history of that pageant, the significance of that pageant. So we're going to talk about Miss Black USA, which I consider to be like a little bit more of like a modern nice take on a pageant. You guys let me know after you listen to the episode. What I do want to say about this one is there isn't a lot of press about this competition, and I'm really not sure why. Like anyone out there who's listening, please let me know. I mean, I don't know if it's just that Miss Black America is just more widely known, so Miss Black USA kind of got, pushed to the side because Miss Black America, I'm sorry, I'm going to try to stop saying the name so much because I know it gets confusing, but anyway, Miss Black America is like maybe 15 years older than this pageant, give or take. So I don't know if people were just like not that into the idea of a Black beauty pageant when this one came out. It's still a very popular pageant, don't get me wrong. It just does not have nearly as much press. And I think that it should, because the way that this pageant is run, the infrastructure of this pageant is kind of different from Miss Black America. Very different. I think it's different from a lot of pageants. It's the first of its kind. So you guys will see what I mean by like a more modernized take on the pageant as we get into the episode. But there just isn't a ton of information about this one. And I wish it was, so we're going to go ahead and talk about it. After we did the Miss Black America episode, I did ask you guys to reach out, let me know about your pageant experience. Some of you guys did share some cool stories. Like I have a follower on Instagram, I cannot think of your Instagram name, I'm so sorry, whose mom competed in Miss Black America. I got some other people just telling me like that they did pageants for a little while, had a good time. Some people who have done pageants throughout pretty much their entire lives. If y'all want to send in some photos or just send some stories to me, please feel free to do that. I would love to share on my story. If you listen to part 1 that I was saying maybe I should do another installation of this series where I just talk about pageants in general, like some of the older pageants that were around before Miss Black America, or any of like just the smaller ones. So if you guys want that, let me know. I think I'll also do a poll about that maybe next week or the week after, just to like see what you guys want, gauge your interest, and see like if there are any specific smaller Black pageants that you want me to talk about, like Miss Juneteenth or one of those. So y'all let me know. Anyway, I will stop rambling and let's get into today's episode. In early 1986, Karen Arrington had an idea for a new version of a beauty pageant. Of course, all of the things that make pageants fun would be included, but what if there was one that focused on Black women and also acted as a scholarship program? Karen shopped the idea around to radio stations, schools, and more, hoping that they would spread the word, which they did. Karen Arrington grew up in Maryland in the 1970s, where she and her siblings were immersed in political campaigns, fundraising, and activism. The kids would often spend their Saturday mornings knocking on doors to pass out campaign information. Her father was actually the mayor of their town. They're from like a small town right outside of DC. Shout out, hometown hero. Hey. Anyway, but her father was actually once the mayor of their town, and her mother worked as an educator, later going into politics herself as a strategist and campaign manager. In a 2021 interview with Medium, Karen said this about her mother. She ran for the Maryland House of Representatives in the 70s, a time when it was rare to see a woman, let alone a Black woman, in the Maryland state legislature. She was my first teacher, mentor, and role model, and taught me how to take up space unapologetically, end quote. The idea that Karen had became the Miss Black USA pageant. She really hit the ground running when she started to spread the word, and in just a few short years, she had raised more than $500,000 in scholarships to be awarded to the pageant winners. Now, let's talk about the actual pageant. I don't have as much information about this pageant as I wish I did, but I still really wanted to get y'all this episode, and I wanted to see if any of you guys had more information. But anyway, I don't know a whole lot about the ins and outs of this one. We had more details from Miss Black America, but I'll tell you guys what I do know. So this pageant is very similar to Miss Black America, but it's also very different. In order to compete at the national level, you have to compete and win at the state level. So the state competitions are called Miss Black insert state, like Miss Black Alabama and so forth. I believe right now there are 23 states that have state level competitions for Miss Black USA, but you can still participate even if you live in a state that doesn't have a competition. It's called like a at-large delegate. It's just a special application for people who are from other states. So once you win, and of course you become a finalist, you get to move on to Miss Black USA, the national contest, and you compete in 5 categories in order to win. I know there's a personal interview, there's a Q&A session, and then a couple other things I'm not exactly sure. The winners would get a scholarship for either undergrad or grad school, and they would get some other cool prizes as well. So that is what really sets this one apart for me from Miss Black America and other pageants, because it has that scholarship angle, and it was the first of its kind specifically for Black women. So here's kind of how she got the idea to add that scholarship angle. And this is a quote from a Huffington Post interview that Karen did in 2020. When I first started Miss Black USA, very few young Black women were getting undergraduate degrees. One of the reasons I established it as a scholarship organization was so young Black women could pursue higher education. I wanted to give these women a platform so that they could not only be celebrated, but elevated. I wanted to show society that we are worthy of wearing a crown on our head, and that remains today. End quote. So what do you guys think about the scholarship angle and making it a nonprofit organization? I love that idea. I think that's a great idea. I definitely think that makes this pageant so unique and makes it stand out amongst its peers. Do you guys think that this is something that's helpful? Do you guys think this is a good angle for a beauty pageant? I don't know. I think this is a really cool concept. And also when this pageant started back in 1986, there may have not been as many Black women who were going to college as there are now. So I'm pretty sure this was really exciting for girls who were interested in higher education and, needed some help getting there. And we'll talk more about what this pageant has done for the community and done for so many girls as far as sending them off to school. The first annual Miss Black USA competition was held on June 6, 1987 in Washington, D.C. The very first winner was Tamiko Gibson, who had previously won Miss Black Maryland. So she had won the state level competition in Maryland and then, of course, got to compete in the national level. The prize for winning the national competition was a mink coat, a new car, new clothes, a scholarship, a modeling portfolio, meaning they would get professional photos done that she could use, a vacation, and many promotional bookings and just appearances that she had to do representing the pageant. So now let's get into the allegedly part. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit of controversy with this pageant. So in a 1988 Washington Post article, Tamiko said she did get, and I quote, this is what she says that she got, y'all, a 3-night trip to the Bahamas, a video cassette recorder, a fox fur fling, 4 pairs of pantyhose and her crown, end quote, but none of her other prizes. So, like I said, it was supposed to be a mink coat, but she got a fox fur fling, which I guess is like a stole, I guess that's like an 80s word for just like a stole. 4 pairs of pantyhose, was that a thing? Like did people gift people pantyhose in the 80s? That I honestly, like, no, this is no shade at all. If somebody gave me that as like a prize, I would be so confused. But I don't know, y'all. If this was a thing, let me know. My older listeners, let me know. Was this a thing in the 80s? Did people just like give women pantyhose? I don't know. But anyway, that was all Tamiko got. So that spring, Tamiko got a lawyer involved because, and here's another quote, her frustration had been building up on behalf of family and friends. The car was not there, the prizes, the cash money I had won. At the time, I started getting discouraged. There had been numerous other groups using the name Miss Black USA. I thought the situation was getting out of hand, end quote. So I'm going to stop right there and just mention something. I could not find anything about like licensing the name. Like, y'all remember last week we were talking about Miss Black America did license the name to people, especially at like this for the state level competitions, but I couldn't really find anything about Miss Black USA. I did find some information that was contradicting. I don't remember exactly what it was, like each instance, but I did find like one website listed certain stats that were different from another website that also claimed to be Miss Black USA, even though like they both link to each other on the same website, so they both like acknowledge each other and link to each other. But I just thought it was weird because there was like some conflicting information on there, and I wanted to get to the bottom of that, but I really couldn't find much. So I think it's pretty interesting that Tamiko said like there were other people using the name in the 80s, like at the start of the competition. So I'm not really sure what happened there. It could have been licensing. It also could have been like, I mean, the competition was so new at this time. I don't think it would have been licensing, but I'm not going to count it out. It could be. And then also it could have just been like someone else had the idea for the name, because I mean, if Miss Black America already existed, because we're in the late 80s now, right? And Miss Black America was, 1968? So if someone already has Miss Black America, it wouldn't be hard for multiple people to come up with Miss Black USA. You get what I'm saying? It's not the most unique name. So maybe there were other people who were starting their own pageants with the same name. I couldn't really find anything, but I did see some conflicting stats that I thought was interesting. But anyway, moving on back to Tamiko. So Tamiko also complained about the logistics of the pageant and just the way that contestants were treated. She said that she personally, like, her entrance fee was paid and covered for by the pageant's board, I believe. So the entrance fee is just like what you pay to compete. Just like when you apply somewhere, you got like an application fee and whatnot. Like, that's the fee that they would pay in order to compete. So Tamiko said that hers was paid for, but other contestants had to pay their own way. I wasn't sure if this was just something that they were supposed to cover. Miss Black USA as a whole was supposed to cover. That's why I wish there was more information about this pageant so we could get like a better idea of what went wrong here, because it's interesting that she says that her entrance fee was covered, but the other people's were not, because saying that yours was covered for you kind of implies that you're supposed to pay it on your own. You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, I don't really know if that's like a valid like critique that other people had to pay, because it kind of sounds like they were supposed to pay, you know what I mean, if yours got covered. But anyway, she said that other contestants had to pay their own way. They were constantly being moved from one hotel to another, and they weren't given enough time to eat or to rehearse. So my pageant girls out there, y'all let me know, are y'all typically made to pay your own way in all competitions, or is it something where like, you pay at the state level but you get to the nationals and they cover for you? Are you responsible for your hotel and lodging? Like, what's going on, and like, how does it really work? That concept is really, really interesting to me, because I just wonder like what kind of expectations do pageants normally set? What's the norm? How does it usually work anyway? But anyway, she alleged, that the logistics of the pageant were just not up to par. So here's Karen's side of the story. She did say that Tamiko was promised a scholarship, but it was withheld because she would not provide her grades from school. And she also violated an oral agreement regarding personal appearances on behalf of the organization. Karen also said that a car dealer was involved, but the deal ultimately fell through because they were waiting on the nonprofit tax status to be approved. So, you can't really operate as a nonprofit until you get, approved. Their tax status was pending at the time, so the car dealer pulled out, obviously, because they were planning on doing this for charity, clearly. So they pulled out because it's like, you aren't a charity. So Tamiko said that the personal appearances thing was discussed, but that she thought the organization understood that she was already a working model and that she would do pageant stuff around her modeling work. She also said that she did comply with the scholarship requirements in full. It's pretty much a long story. It's a lot of back and forth of like Tamiko and her lawyer saying one thing, and then the organization and Karen on behalf of the organization, of course, saying a different thing. Then it goes into like a lot of other petty things about like the fox stole versus the mink coat versus this versus that. It's a lot of details there. Tamiko's attorney sent a letter to the pageant organization about the prizes that she didn't receive. And then a few days later, she found out that her title was being revoked and was going to be given to the first runner-up. Then there were a couple other instances of trouble as the years went on. The Miss Black USA pageant didn't have any competitions from about 98 to 2000, which is like, I guess, kind of normal. Miss Black America went on a hiatus too, so I don't think like that's anything too crazy, but I thought I would mention that they did go on hiatus as well. In 2003, after the pageant's return, it had been back for a few years at this point. Winner Elizabeth Muto returned her crown that year, saying that the contract they asked her to sign was unfair. Elizabeth said that the contract would have made the organization her exclusive publicist, agent, and manager. So that's a little bit of the controversy behind the pageant. What do y'all think? So here's what I think about the last thing we talked about as far as Elizabeth Muto and her returning her crown because of the contract. Now, that contract sounds very intense. I don't know if I would want an organization to be my publicist, my agent, and my manager, but it also kind of sounds on par. Y'all let me know if I'm wrong, because like I've only done the research for these episodes. I do not know much about the pageant world, but like I feel like it definitely sounds intense, but it's also kind of like everything you do while you are crowned has an effect on the pageant that you won. So I can kind of see why they would want to like be, in charge of those things, but being publicist, agent, and manager, and you only had to work with them does sound a little unfair, because I know that a lot of women who compete in pageants often already have modeling contracts like Tamiko did. So it does sound kind of unfair, but y'all let me know what the norm in this industry is, because I have no idea. And then about the Tamiko situation, speaking of her, that situation is sketchy. I will admit it. I don't know why there's an oral agreement. I don't know why they had an oral agreement. Like, that sounds really just like not set in stone. I know oral, agreements can hold up in court sometimes, but I just think with a nonprofit and with, a pageant where there are prizes and tax write-offs and all those things, everything needs to be in writing at all times. And that's just in general, like everything you do for certain stuff, especially when it involves charity, you gotta have things in writing for legacy purposes. And then also them holding the competition before their tax status was approved is also like kind of shady, but you know what, I think it all measures up. It all just measures up to first year mistakes and mishaps, and people make mistakes and things happen. So it sounds like they just kind of dropped the ball there, but it was a brand new pageant, and I'm sure today they are getting things in writing, okay? So that's what I think about those situations. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Despite a few public mishaps, Miss Black USA continued to grow in the following years, with Karen mentoring many of the pageant contestants by helping them get into graduate programs, get into medical schools, helping them land contracts, TV, recording, modeling, and she also helped contestants find other grants and scholarships. In 2007, for the competition's 20-year anniversary, Karen negotiated a sponsorship deal worth $2.5 million, and the competition that year was actually held in Gambia. Today, the pageant is involved in a lot of social issues. They're very, very active in raising awareness for breast cancer, women's health, diabetes, and much more. In 2021, the competition was broadcasted on Fox Soul, and the organization partnered with Queenly, and they were connected with Queenly by a former Miss Black USA winner, Megan Holston Alexander. So for those that don't know, and I have never ever heard of this website, but it sounds very cool. Queenly is basically a Amazon. Think of it like an Amazon, like a really big marketplace for formal wear. So you can go on there and like find anything you want according to your size, your body, whatever you're looking for. It's basically like an Amazon strictly for gowns, formal wear, all the things like that. So the deal that Queenly had with Miss Black USA was for them to help connect contestants with the clothes that they need to compete. So y'all know in pageants, you got to have your evening gown. If you got a swimsuit, you got to get one of those. You got to have different outfits for different things. So Queenly helps Miss Black American contestants get the clothes that they need, and they also donated sponsorship money to the Miss Black USA scholarship. In a press statement that year, Queenly CEO Trisha Banteague said, "As a female minority founder, I wholeheartedly understand the various struggles of underrepresented communities, and so we strive to make sure our company goes out of our way in supporting organizations that uplift these very communities. Miss Black USA has been the epitome of promoting diversity and feminism by providing a platform where young Black women can thrive and find their true confidence in themselves in order to later tackle the world. Queenly and Miss Black USA are partnering to send a strong message of what women empowerment means when diversity and inclusion is included." End quote. So today, Miss Black USA is still the largest single source of scholarship funding for Black women. Of course, the first pageant of its kind. 80% of the winners are in graduate or professional school, according to Karen. And in a 2022 interview with Essence, she said, "We're in the business of celebrating Black women through education, opportunity, and offering them the tools needed to succeed no matter where they are." And that is the story of Miss Black USA, y'all. They're still going super strong. The pageant is still held every year. They just had their 2021 pageant. That's the pageant. I wish there was more about the ins and outs of the pageant and how it works, but I know that a lot of their winners are not necessarily big names that you would recognize, but they have a lot of really influential contestants and prior winners, lots of doctors, lots of activists, lots of people, women in education. So it's just really a beautiful thing to just read about some of the people who have competed and what they went on to do after they were in the pageant. So I loved learning about Miss Black USA. I really do wish there was more information out there about how it works, but since it's still extremely active, hopefully we will get some more of that. Before we go, I do just want to talk a little bit about the importance of Black beauty pageants. Here's a condensed quote from Keisha Scott, who is a professor of American Studies and Sociology at Grinnell College. And this quote is from a 2018 USA Today article. "For the African American experience, beauty pageants are an attempt to create an institution where we build self-esteem, where we continue to move that needle to be inclusive of diversity in the Black experience." End quote. I know that everyone doesn't love the idea of a beauty pageant and putting women up against each other and making them compete against each other. And I totally understand how pageants can be just harmful to young women. And it definitely can be based in things that are superficial. And y'all hear me out. This is how I feel. And y'all are more than welcome to share your opinions with me. But I feel like Black women are not always able to just say, "I'm beautiful and that's it." Or like, "I'm beautiful and I want to talk about it," or "I'm beautiful and I'm going to say it and I'm proud of it. And I ain't bragging. I'm not saying anything crazy, but like I'm saying I'm beautiful and I know that and I'm going to stand in it." I think a lot of times Black women people want black women to be humble. Even some other black women are like, no. Talk about how smart you are. Talk about this. Talk about that. I get questions all the time about why I started this podcast. And I'm going to relate it to the need for black beauty pageants. Now, black beauty is something that is just not talked about enough, in my opinion. When people talk about black women, when they're praising black women, they're talking about how strong we are. They're talking about how much adversity we've faced. They're talking about just like, there's just always a need to be super, super smart or super, super successful. Like the black excellence thing, I love it, don't get me wrong. But sometimes, like, why is everyone else able to see women who look like them in positions of beauty, but then when black women ask for that, or black women want that or want to be that, they're shamed, they're shitted on? Like, it seems like we're just like, no, work hard, be smart. We don't want to talk about that. You can't just be a bad bitch. You can't just be a beautiful woman. And when black women are super confident about like their appearance and how beautiful they are and how worthy they are, some people just kind of don't like that. And for me, it was really important to create a space where we talk about women who were beautiful, talented in their own right, of course, but also like into beauty, into fashion, into entertainment and singing and all these other things. Not everyday science and doctor and like, oh, she beat the odds and she did all this work. And not that the women I talk about on this podcast don't work hard, because all of them do, but y'all get what I'm saying. Let's talk about black beauty. Let's talk about women. You see her, you're like, oh, I want to look like this. I want to do that. She makes me feel beautiful. I feel represented by her. She looks like me. She looks like girls I know. She's confident. She's up there smiling and she's proud of herself. Not sitting down, being humbled and like just praising like the output that people have all the time, you know, what they put out and how much they're able to complete. So I see how important these kinds of competitions are just for networking, for meeting other women, for getting further in your field, going to school, just doing all kinds of things. And just being like a beautiful black woman. Black beauty is not something that should be taboo. We should talk about it. I think as black women, we should all stand in it, how beautiful we are. We are trendsetters. Everyone wants to be like us. We should feel free to talk about it. I know I'm rambling, so I'm going to cut myself off, but hopefully y'all understand what I'm trying to say. Like, as a black woman, you should talk about how beautiful you are all the time. You can talk about how much people want to be like us, what these girls be going through to look like us. And there's nothing wrong with competing in a pageant. Black girls need to see themselves represented. I've told the story before on here. I don't remember what episode, but I know I told y'all I got the idea initially for this podcast. I was watching music videos, like current rap videos with an ex of mine. And I was like, dang, it ain't no black girls in here. I also talked about that in an interview I did this year. That I need to link on my website. I need to update my website, y'all. But anyway, yeah, I was just like, there are no black girls in like any video. And it's crazy because I grew up seeing black girls all the time. I just think about how empowered I felt like seeing people like Megan Good all the time, or Lanisha Cole, or like other people that were just like gorgeous, like black, unambiguously black women, and just, you know, and there's so many other names. It means a lot to me, like when you guys come to me and you're like, I love this podcast, I love learning about these women. And a lot of y'all are young. Like, a lot of my listeners, y'all, are like in between the age of like 18 and 25, which I think is a very, very integral time to like know who you are and know your worth and know that you're beautiful, because that's a hard couple of years right there, that entrance into adulthood. So anything that I can do to like make that transition to like adulting easier for y'all and like helping y'all know y'all worth and recognize your beauty means a lot to me, because I know how it can be to like not feel represented. And like, I just can't imagine not having any examples of representation. I think things are great right now, as far as black women in entertainment and music and the industry and all those things. But like, y'all need to know y'all history, man. We been bad bitches, okay? But anyway, I'm done rambling. I hope that y'all enjoyed this episode and enjoyed my long ass rant. Make sure you follow on Instagram for the poll tomorrow. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Call me, beat me. If you want to reach me, if you have a submission, you know what to do. Hit my DM or my email, VIXENPODCAST@gmail.com. And I hope that y'all enjoyed this series. I'll do a poll asking about another episode in this series. Maybe we'll do it as a bonus because y'all know the podcast is about to end for the season. Maybe we'll do it as a bonus. That's pretty much it. I love y'all. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see y'all next week for the finale. Bye. Thank you for listening to Vixen. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a review. If you have a submission, feel free to email VIXENPODCAST@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode.